Today, we discuss recent trades, rumors, the Rule 5 draft, and recap everything MLB Winter Meetings. You're listening to the Bucko Banner podcast brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates, and they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plate, send in case after case. Run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Adam, he's Scott, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. The Pirates made a ton of trades, Scott. I wouldn't say a ton of trades. It seems like a ton of trades. There's been a lot of trade talk, but a specific trade that has everybody up in arms. Luis Ortiz is no longer a Pirate. They bring in Spencer Horwitz from really the Blue Jays, but technically the Guardians. What's your first reaction to this?
I first saw the trade on Twitter last night, and I was like, because I saw Horwitz went to Cleveland in the Andres Jimenez trade, and then they flipped him to Pittsburgh. And I saw Michael Kennedy, Josh Hartle, and Luis Ortiz going to Cleveland, and it says Spencer Horwitz at Pittsburgh. And I was like looking to see who else Pittsburgh was getting, because I was like, that was my first reaction was like, if they're giving Ortiz and Kennedy, and Hartle has got pedigree, he's a decent lefty arm, I feel like they're going to get more in return there. But, I think at first I thought it was an overpay, and I still do think it's a little bit of an overpay because I think that package could have gotten you a Yandy Diaz or a Ryan Mountcastle. But it's pretty clear that the Pirates want to, cut costs and, save where they can and spend as little as they can. With that said, I think Spencer Horwitz is a good player. I've been doing a lot of research on him and looking at some numbers. Like, he provides a lot of what they're missing: bat the ball, on base. I mean, his WRC plus, I think this year would have ranked first on the team. 127. So his numbers throughout the minors and even in 381 plate appearances this year in the majors are impressive. He's a lefty bat, and he's got one option left. He's ARB eligible in 2027 and a free agent in 2031. So under control for quite some time. I think it's like the first legit first baseman we've had since Josh Bell, like steady first baseman.
Since Josh Bell, Carlos Santana were the only positive WAR players they've had at first base since this trade. So it fills a need, right? They needed a first baseman. They have one under control for a long time now. They have a lefty bat that crushes righties. Okay. Versus righties, 285, hit 12 home runs in 97 games. Versus lefties, not so great. Needs work. But guess what? His guy, Matt Haig, is here. They have an incredible relationship. He's been with him since AA. He was a reason he attributed a lot of his success in his rookie year in Toronto last year because Haig was at the big league level with him. So my immediate reaction, again, was, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. What's going on here? Like, it was kind of a reality check for us, though. This is what the Pirates do, and offseason gives us a little bit of more time to romanticize things, right? To get our hopes and our dreams up and all these free agents and like the perfect fit. We were talking about Heston Kjerstad, and I believe we mentioned like Luis Ortiz could have been a guy that could probably get that done. And you have a guy for league minimum control, and that's kind of what they got here with Spencer Horwitz, but it took a little bit more. It just doesn't seem like we can win as Pirates fans, right? And I'm going to challenge everybody listening to this podcast to pick a direction, okay? Yeah. You're either all the way in or you're all the way out. You cannot want them to make moves to improve this team, but also to not give up too much and to hug these prospects and to wait for the perfect fit. It just doesn't work like that. So we've been begging them to make a move, any move. They made a significant one here, right? Whether or not you think they gave up too much, too little, they got too little in return. Spencer Horwitz is a very good player. He's, I don't want to say he's young. He's young when it comes to years of experience. He's 27 years old as a rookie. But like you mentioned, man, like bat to ball, like you have a guy that's going to consistently play first base. He played a little bit of second base too last year. That's not his primary position. He is a first baseman. And this is going to be a good team player. Like this is a guy that's going to fit in. You're not going to, I mean, you got to clean up the splits here, right? You don't want another platoon bat, especially a guy where you're investing Luis Ortiz in, Michael Kennedy, Josh Hartle. We got to give it a chance. I think it's just one thing where you can't really evaluate this trade until July, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen.
100%. I think there's a couple things. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, but I'm also going to further my point that I was making earlier. We got a bat that is young and all the peripherals are like look really good. He runs really high on base percentages. In the Moneyball era, I think Billy Beane would have been all over this guy. Like he is a Scott Hatteberg. He gets on base and he's got some power, and that's something that our lineup really lacked. I think I'm not surprised by Luis Ortiz being traded. Like we've mentioned that multiple times, him and Bailey Falter being options, guys that you could trade. I've said, hey, I'd rather trade a guy too early than too late. Hey, we might have sold at his highest value. We could have. I'm still a believer in Luis Ortiz. I really loved him here in Pittsburgh. I'm a big fan. And I'm sure Cleveland, the way they develop pitchers, he's going to thrive there too. But we traded from a position of depth for an area of need. My initial reaction was, I think Michael Kennedy is a legit prospect. I really do. I think that was a big find for us as a Northeast prep arm who was committed to LSU, got him the sign out of high school. And he overperformed and in Bradenton this year, to say the least. I'm going to make one argument. I think this organization, it needs to be more consistent in developing prospects and drafting better every year, being more consistent. Like the draft is a crapshoot. I think Cleveland is Pittsburgh with better decision makers. And I've mentioned, like, why can't we beat Cleveland? Why can't we beat Cleveland? Like, Cleveland churns out guys. They flip from a position of depth. Like, they got Naylor, and now they got Kyle Manzardo. They're going to trade Naylor. They got Kyle Manzardo, like, to replace him. Like, they just keep churning guys out, developing arms, like Tanner Bybee, Shane Bieber. These guys aren't, like, first-round picks either, right? So that's where we need to be more consistent. But I will say this. As upset I am about Michael Kennedy and Luis Ortiz, because he's still 25, parades are better than prospects. And we're in a very unique window where you have Paul Skeens for a limited amount of time. It's time to win. No one in the farm system outside of Bubba Chandler, because he's literally going to debut this year, is untouchable for me. But it really does put pressure on the development department this year, because we're going to get a new farm director. It really puts a lot of pressure on that department to keep churning out from the bottom, right? We need like Eddie Reinders. We need Connor Griffin to be the next Bobby Witt. I'm serious. Like we need like Levi Sterling, all those guys to really hit. We really do. But I'll worry about that later. They're a couple years away. Win now.
The lineup is better right now than it was yesterday.
100%.
Right. It is. You gave up Michael Kennedy, but guess what? He's going to spend most of the year in low A. You know, he'll probably get some time in Altoona, maybe towards the end of, he would have gotten some time in Altoona, possibly. Hartle would have spent most of the time in Bradenton, right? So these are guys that they're unknowns. And guess what? If you're talking like prospects, you didn't give up Hunter Barco, right? You didn't give up Anthony Solometto. I know he didn't have a good year, but that's what you consider one of your top lefty prospects.
Yep.
You still have Xander Meath. You still have Bubba Chandler. You still have Thomas Harrington. You still have Braxton Ashcraft. Let's like pump the brakes a little bit on the like, well, maybe we gave one too many prospects. We're doing what Ben Charrington. I mean, I liked his comments the other day. Like he was very candid and forthcoming compared to his end of the season press conference, right? Where it was like, oh, we need to get better, but not really pinpointing any issues. He said, no, we need to add bats. We need to add bullpen. We need to add corner outfielders. And guess what? They dealt from depth. It really has no effect on their farm system right now. I just listed all those names. and I'm probably missing a couple more.
Yeah.
Okay. Eddie Yean didn't get taken in
No one
Rule
did.
5.
Sammy Siani,
Okay.
Omar Alfonzo.
They're okay. And they, from what we've learned, they've liked Spencer Horwitz for a while now, a couple of years. And they tried to make a deal with him, I think, last year. It didn't work, but it just, the timing worked out, and they got him for a while. Right. So you don't have to worry about that if it works out. If he's able to come in and hit 270, if he's able to hit 15 to 20 bombs, if he's able to get 50 to 60 extra base hits a year, like, we're winning. I encourage everybody. There's another podcast besides listening to this podcast. Go listen to Gate 14. It's a Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Excellent podcast. They're friends with Spencer Horwitz. They had a great interview with him recently, offseason interview, and you can kind of hear his process and how he was going about his business last year. And I'm excited, man. Like, I think I've done a full turnaround on this, because like last night I was all over the place. I didn't know what to think, and now I'm like, all right, well, I can't stay in the same mindset as a Pirates fan, just pouting about not making any moves and not doing things to win now. This helps you win at least more games than you did last year. Like, this helps add more home runs to the lineup. This produces more runs. You need to score more runs than the other team to win baseball games.
Yeah.
Fucking obvious, but like, this is a good, you know what? It's a good move.
Yeah.
It's a good move.
I'm coming around on it. And my like reservations are not about Spencer Horwitz. I'm a fan. I think he's a good player. I think that there's a couple trades to be made, and I think that we could have utilized these prospects for, more guys. And I'm kind of contradicting myself, because I'm talking about like not prospect hugging, and I'm like, why didn't we just trade Luis Ortiz straight up for Spencer Horwitz and keep Michael Kennedy for someone else? But they have more to deal from, and they're going to continue to do so. I'm just picturing right now a lineup where I could see Horwitz being a dangerous number 2 hitter. A lefty. If you get your leadoff guy on base, on first base, a first baseman's, holding the runner, and he's, just pounding balls down the right field line, and he's got this 360 OBP, and then you got Reynolds up next. Like, I think it could be a really dangerous 1, 2, 3. And I could also see him, depending on the pitcher they're facing, like in the 5 hole. But I think he's going to be in the middle of the order bat. I think he's going to be a name that is going to become more of a household name next year across the league. I'm excited. I'm going to choose to be excited. But the Pirates need to do more. And I don't want to spend too much time on Horwitz. We're definitely going to be talking about him with Noah this weekend. But this was an active winter meetings, to say the least. I feel like I haven't seen a winter meetings, just league wide, not just Pirates, that has been this active, and it was fun to watch, but there's more to be done. And there was a move.
Yeah. There was a ton that was done.
Yeah.
Just real quick. I mean, we talk about what the Pirates need to be successful, and it's not a bunch of 5-WAR guys, right? It's not realistic. That's not what they're going to do. But like a bunch of like 1.5, 2-WAR guys probably gets it done for this team to be successful with the pitching that they have. This is almost a 2-WAR guy. And I'm not worried about him being a platoon. I think they're going to be confident in throwing him up there against lefties, just because, one, not much experience against lefties at the big league level. Listening to him talk, hitting lefties doesn't seem like it was an issue with him prior to getting to the big league level. So it's something that you could work on. That's something you could fix. We saw it with O'Neal Cruz. So hopefully this is a permanent fix for a guy that is going to contribute right away. But more moves need to be done. As you were just getting into, a lot of moves were done. Garrett Crochet is a Red Sox. Juan Soto is a Met. Max Fried is a Yankee. Michael Tauchman is a White Sox. Like,
I love that. That's like one of the first 5 names you listed. That's hilarious. I like Mike Tauchman.
Yeah, Tauchman's good. And I mean, we've mentioned Tyler O'Neill. Austin Slater is off the board. Or he's with Chicago, the White Sox. So
he was one of the first signings.
There's a lot of moves to be made in the Pirates organization, but there's a lot of moves just happening around baseball, and it's exciting, man. Like, I feel like we're in mid-season form with the winter meetings. Like, the rumors get me going. Like, it gets me all like excited, and I feel like the jitters getting like ready for the season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. We've mentioned, people might have seen it on Twitter, but we're already planning our spring training trip. Zach's boy's going to come with us. Like it's going to be a good time. I'm really excited for Bradenton, man. I can't wait to get down there. But before we get into like, other news and stuff across the league that happened in and around the Central, the Pirates signed a reliever.
Right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit? I know you maybe did a little bit more digging than I did on this guy. Maybe you want to kick us off here?
Sure. So Elvis Alvarado signed a split contract with the Pirates. A split contract is basically they're going to pay him at different rates for the work that he does in the minor leagues and the major leagues. So he's added to the 40-man right now, but there's no guarantee that, this guy's going to be on the opening day roster. This is still a project. Okay. This is a converted outfielder that's jumped around a bunch of farm systems. He spent time with the Nationals, Mariners, Tigers, and he just finished with AAA in the Marlins organization.
How old is he?
You know what? I actually don't know.
I think he's late 20s, but continue.
Yeah,
I'll look that up.
Because I believe he's a Dominican guy. So I think he signed young. He's a 6'4" righty, man. He could throw 100 miles per hour, and that's why we're taking a chance on him. He had a 2.79 ERA last year.
He's
in
only 25.
Yeah, 25 years old. Okay, so not bad. 2.79 ERA, 48 in the third innings pitch. He struck out a third of his opponents, right? That's good. You're like, oh, man, we just got a steal. Here's where the kicker comes in. He walked 18% of the batters that he faced. So he could be dominant with the fastball. Like he leans.
Did you say 18%?
18%.
That's awful.
That's bad. It's bad. But he has a 2.73 ERA, right? So he's not getting hit, right?
I don't know if that'll fly at the big league level, but all right, let's go.
A 40% whiff rate on the fastball. 40%. Okay. 35.7 whiff rate on the slider. They hit 125 on his slide. Like batters hit 125 batting average. Like the stuff is good. It's just the control, man. And like if any team can develop pitchers and try and get the most out of somebody like this, I think this is a good fit and a potential arm, a depth piece. I'm not saying this is the fix. A righty arm definitely isn't the fix that we needed in the bullpen. We need lefty arms, but this is like, all right, hey, they went out and they signed somebody that throws 98 to 100 miles per hour. Okay. And he's young.
Hey, get him in the lab with, Oscar Marine and Brett Strom. Maybe they can help him. Like velocity is like hard to teach, right? Like you could do like weighted balls and there's all kinds of like secret sauce that you could implement in your training. But like control is something that you can work on with mechanics, repeating your delivery and all that. And it sounds like he's new to pitching too, so if he's a converted outfielder. So, hey, maybe they really buy the stuff and they're like, just get him. We're confident in our development of pitchers and he could be a future back end reliever. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, could be a leverage guy. Who knows? And then some more rumors, Scott.
Yeah.
Some juicy rumors.
Big time rumors. Okay, let's kick this off. Let's just go right into it. Noah, Noah published an article for the Post-Gazette today about the Pirates aren't stopping at chopping pitching, right? They shopped Luis Ortiz. We figured that they were going to deal from that position. They're also shopping Mitch Keller and Jared Jones. That's the one that's a little bit surprising to me. The phrase very available was used with him. And I think they're looking at the price of starting pitching in this market and saying like, hey, we could probably get a massive return if we flip one of these guys. And I think with Keller, it's like, hey, we can get 77 million off the books. Like it's also a cost saving metric while also, improving your offense. So I don't know, man. I think they're listening, as every team should, every GM should. I think these rumors get maybe blown out of proportion when they reach the public and social media. People are like, oh my God, they're shopping Jared Jones. Are you kidding me? Typical Pirates. Like, no matter what, you're listening. Like they'll listen to an offer on Paul Skeens, believe it or not. Like every GM, a good GM listens to everything, but that doesn't mean he wants to trade that guy. Like they're going to. I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this? This is an interesting rumor. I'm not too confident with this front office getting the best return. I will just put that out there.
That's the one thing. I'm actually Jared Jones, I think should be that, listen, but that's a young arm that you got to see everything that you got there. Mitch Keller, on the other hand, I can understand them shopping him around. He signed a 5 year, $77 million deal. Okay. So they're paying him AAV, 15 million a year, somewhere in that ballpark.
Something in that range, yeah.
I'm not confident that they will get the return that they need for a guy like Mitch Keller, like you just said, because of what they just did in terms of sending a good starting pitcher, a legitimate starting pitcher to the Guardians for somebody with a league minimum salary in Spencer Horwitz. Not saying that's a bad move, but they have a clear agenda of not spending money in a lot of places. So like a Mitch Keller should be able to bring multiple big league bats your way, but the chances are you're going to have to pay those big league bats millions of dollars per year. Let me read off some names here real quick. And free agency, Max Fried, he's going to get $27.25 million a year. Okay.
8 years.
Yeah.
I was shocked by that.
Crazy contract. Biggest contract for a left-handed pitcher in the history of the game. Okay.
No way. Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow. Good for him.
Blake Snell is going to get north of $36 million a year. Nathan Eovaldi is going to get $25 million a year. Severino is going to get $22.3 million a year. Yusei Kikuchi, $21.2 million a year. Clay Holmes is going to get north of $12 million per year as a starter. Okay. Frankie Montas is going to make $17 million per year. Matt Boyd, 14.5. Shane Bieber, 13. Blake Trennan, 11 million. Okay. Like,
how about Alex Cobb, who barely pitched
Alex
last
Cobb
year,
is going to make 15 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the market is insane for starting pitchers right now. So I get it. If you can get a guy like Mitch Keller, if a team says, hey, like we're on the verge of competing, like we can add Mitch Keller as our like 4-5 guy for 5 years, $77 million. We're going to pay him $15 million a year. Like, yeah, we'll take on that contract if we have bats to give up. I understand that. I'm not sure the Pirates will make the right move in order to improve this team at the moment.
I mean,
that's my worry.
Like I said before, I'm not confident in our decision makers. I feel like Cleveland is Pittsburgh with better decision makers. They literally, I think Andres Jimenez, who they dumped off with Toronto, which I don't really understand what Toronto's doing. They got like $100 million that was due to him off the books, but they're going to replace him easily. I mean, that's how good Cleveland is, and they were able to turn Andres Jimenez into. They got Luis Ortiz. They got this outfield prospect from the Blue Jays. They got Michael Kennedy. Like they got a lot for just Andres Jimenez. So, I'm not confident in a deal being made that is, properly values Mitch Keller, because I think any team would want a guy like him who's going to eat innings, who you could rely on most nights going 7 innings.
Okay. Say they get rid of Mitch Keller. They trade him. They make a great trade. I don't know who the names are. You get Paul Skeens, Jared Jones. You hope to insert Bubba Chandler in there.
They're all on rookie contracts, and they've got higher upside than any rotation in baseball. But
right, Thomas Harrington, Bailey Falter, Johan Oviedo, and then company,
Burrows,
right? And then Mike Burrows. You're still okay, right? Like you're still. I mean, that's assuming Bubba Chandler has a very good rookie season. That's assuming Thomas Harrington is a good back end starter. But like, I still like my chances. Like if it yields the right return, right? Yeah. Like if it yields us an everyday left fielder, if it yields us a top prospect shortstop that's supposed to debut this year, like somebody with a ton of control that also has major league experience. Like those are the guys that you're looking for when it comes to a Mitch Keller, because that value of that contract right now is, quite frankly, it's cheap.
I mean, if you send him to let's just play around with this a little bit. If you were to send Mitch Keller to Arizona and you got Jake McCarthy and a lefty reliever plus a low-level prospect, would you be happy about that? I think that would be a that would be a really good outcome. I mean, getting a guy that has a lot of control, who also a lefty bat to your lineup, who's a really good defender, who gets on base a lot, who can steal bases, like he provides value in many different ways. Plus, and he's cheap. He's like under $1 million right now, right? Plus, you get a lefty reliever. They have 2 lefties on their whole 40-man roster right now. And then I don't know who the lefty relievers are on the roster, but I'm just spitballing here. And then you get a prospect, so you add to your farm system. Not necessarily a top end guy, but like a prospect.
Would you do? I keep going back to Baltimore, man, because I really want Heston Kjerstad. But like, would you do Mitch Keller, Heston Kjerstad,
straight up,
Enrique Bradfield,
yeah,
and then end it there? Would you do that?
Yeah, I don't think they would go. They would give anything.
I don't think they would. Yeah, I think that.
But yeah,
I mean, I think Bradfield's still a year away from being ready. But man, like, I don't know. I just think it's a very valuable piece that, while I would still like Mitch Keller to be a Pirate, I think he's still valuable to this team, especially as one of the only veteran pitchers that they have. I mean, that you got to consider that as well. You can't have, I mean, you can theoretically, but like,
I don't know. Paul Skeens kind of, no pun intended, but he kind of acts like a veteran.
Sure. But like, I mean, then like, just like on paper, you have a full rotation of rookies, right? Like it does help. Like we talked about Aroldis Chapman and his contributions to guys like Luis Ortiz, right? Like you need a guy like that around that's going to help you through 162 plus. I think it's interesting. I'm glad they're listening. I don't care what anyone else says. It doesn't mean they're actively shopping him and like trying to get rid of him. They're listening. And if the right thing comes up, then a good GM will make the right move. But like, don't get up in arms about winter meeting rumors, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, no, there's a lot to be done. I like you said, Ben was a little bit more direct the other day, but today his quotes Noah posted, I don't know, they didn't really inspire a lot of confidence in me. Like Noah basically asked him if there are more moves coming on the horizon and they want to continue adding to this team. And it was just like a word salad. It was basically like, maybe. I don't know. Like I didn't like feel very confident from his answer. But then again, like these guys are not going to like straight up say like, yeah, we're talking to the Angels about Taylor Ward or the Cardinals about Jordan Walker. Like they're not going to do that. So I don't know. We'll see. There's definitely moves to be made, and this team, I don't think we've seen the last of moves for this organization. Especially, we have a farm director to hire, so there's a lot that's going to happen over here in the next month or so. But let's should we get into, unless you have anything else to say about
just I mean, real quick, we didn't mention Michael Conforto went to the Dodgers. So like there's another outfield name that's off the board, right? Tyler O'Neill was like your realistic dream prospect. He's gone. Conforto for both of us was kind of like that number 2 guy that you wanted to add in the ballpark, right? Like outside of that, there's not really much to like go after, where as like a free agent, you're going to want to dish out a lot of money. Like the money that you're saving on Spencer Horwitz, you're not going to like be like, okay, we're going to allocate that money to bringing in Jesse Winker, right? Yeah. Like that's not worth it. Now, if you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to allocate that money to bringing in Jerks and Profar on a 3-year deal, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. But like outside of him, I'm looking at the list of names and I'm like, there's Max no Kepler one here, maybe,
but he doesn't go above 10 million. I'd be surprised if he does.
Right. Like here's the top outfield free agents right now are Teoscar Hernandez,
not happening.
Anthony Santander, Harrison Bader, which is like no bat. That's like defeats the purpose of what we're going for. Alex Verdugo, Max Kepler, Jason Hayward, Tommy Pham, Brandel Grichuk, Jesse Winker, Jersk, and Profar.
I mean, I'd put Profar over like almost all these guys, but
right.
Kepler would probably be like my number 2, but I don't see them making a good enough upgrade via free agency. I think it's going to have to come via trade. It just like none of those names like really jump out to me, and I'm kind of surprised Michael Conforto. I was going to get in and announce some of the other signings that happened during. I know we listed off a bunch of them already, but Michael Conforto, like the AAV, I know it's only 1 year, but he's getting 17 million. while Tyler O'Neill is getting 16 over 3 years.
Yeah.
So a little bit surprised about that because I definitely value Tyler O'Neill over Michael Conforto. But I'm not like overly like in love with the remaining outfield free agents. I don't know about you.
No, I'm not. And I think that's why working through trade right now at this part of the offseason is beneficial to them, because of course they're going to look for a guy they can control till 2030. So yeah, if they can bring in a guy like that via trade and give up another arm to do so, it doesn't have to be like a Mitch Keller type of deal, but it's hard to attract these free agents to Pittsburgh and give them exactly what they want in order to come here. Right.
Yeah.
So like that's the issue that you run into. Not saying like people don't want to play for alongside Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, possibly Bubba Chandler, O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds. Like I'm naming good pieces here, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of the dollars and like the clauses and like, hey, are you going to give me an opt-out after a year? Or are you going to like up that? Like it's, you see like the intricacies with these contracts, like Juan Soto. Like if Juan Soto opts out after year 5, he makes $4 extra million per year. Like these types of, I'm not saying like Juan Soto type deals, but like these types of negotiations, I just don't think the Pirates are willing to do. So it just makes it that much harder to bring in a top tier or even a B tier free agent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's unfortunate. I don't think we have the best salesman, in charge of making those negotiations, but definitely more moves to come. There's a couple other things that happened during the winter meetings that I'm just going to run through some signings real quick. The Phillies signed Jordan Romano, 1 year, 7.75. Dodgers brought back Blake Trinan. You already announced that, 2 years, 22. We announced Tigers, Alex Cobb, Dodgers, Michael Conforto, White Sox, Mike Tauchman. Rockies signed Thairo Estrada. And the Blue Jays brought back Yimi Garcia for 2 years, $15 million. And then we announced Max Fried and Nathan Eovaldi. So this was a very active winter meetings. Very active.
Yeah, Garrett Crochet too traded.
Yeah, exactly. Garrett Crochet too. And then so there were some trades too. Like we announced Andres Jimenez to Toronto. They also got Nick Sandlin from Cleveland. He's a bullpen guy. The Rangers acquired last night Jake Berger from the Marlins in exchange for 3 prospects: Max Acosta, Echedri Vargas, and Brian Mendoza. And then the Red Sox got today Garrett Crochet. We've been talking about him getting traded since beginning of last year. He went to Boston, another lefty from Chicago to Boston, for Kyle Teal, who was a first-round pick out of UVA. He's a catcher, number 4 prospect for the Red Sox. Outfielder Braden Montgomery, I believe he was number 11. Both top 100 guys on the Just Baseball rankings, by the way. Infielder Chase Mydroth, who I am a big fan of too. Great plate discipline skills. He was a top 20 prospect for the Red Sox. And then right-handed pitcher Will Kelman Gonzalez. So the White Sox got quite a return, man. And the Red Sox didn't part with Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, or Roman Anthony. So they kept their big dogs.
Yeah, a perfect trade for the White Sox, for a team that's rebuilding.
I thought it looked good for both sides. Like I think the White Sox got an adequate return, and I thought the Red Sox got a much needed lefty arm in their rotation.
Yeah, I mean Braden Montgomery, he's a stud, dude.
Big fan. Big
fan.
We really wanted him.
Yeah, once he's ready how he slipped to Boston to begin with, even with the ankle injury, I think is absurd. Just the talent there is undeniable. But yeah, I think this is beneficial for both teams. And we had the Rule 5 draft too, man, which was
we had the Rule 5.
Very
but
exciting.
Before we get in the Rule 5, I want to list off a couple rumors that are going out there, especially around the Central, because I feel like this is important. The Cubs, a couple rumors around the Cubs are close to signing backup catcher Carson Kelly. He's been Arizona and Detroit. And they've also engaged in talks with right-handed pitcher Kyle Finnegan, who the Nationals non-tendered. He served as their closer for a while. We've been talking about the Cardinals actively shopping Nolan Arenado, but he also said that he's willing to waive his no-trade clause for 6 teams: the Dodgers, the Padres, the Angels, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Red Sox. So look for him to be traded probably to one of those 6 teams here in the next week or so. And then also the Cubs, along with the Yankees, have been in talks with the Astros and acquiring Kyle Tucker. I really hope he goes to the Yankees, because if he's in the NL Central, I think that really elevates the Cubs. If they trade Cody Bellinger, if they trade Seiya Suzuki, but they net Kyle Tucker, I know it's only for 1 year because he becomes a free agent. Kyle Tucker, I think, is a top 10 hitter in this league right now. So that would be a big, big get for them. And they have the deep farm system and the pieces to move for him. They've talked about moving Paredes. They've talked about moving Suzuki, plus Cam Smith, who was their first round pick out of Florida State last year. So they have options and they have a farm system to deal from. Lastly, a couple other things. The Mets are open to trading Starling Marte for relief help. The Angels are close to trading outfielder, most likely Taylor Ward. Pirates have been linked to him before. I think we can do a little bit better, but he definitely had pop to our lineup. And then Joel Wolf, agent for Roki Sasaki, he's an agent for a lot of free agents right now, said it might be beneficial for Sasaki to have a soft landing in a small, medium market because of the issues he had with the Japanese media in his career. I guess he's not good with media. He's not a fan of it, and he has not been opposed to starting off in a small market. Actually, the White Sox are going to pitch him tomorrow, which I find fascinating.
Not a small market, though.
Not a small market, but it's a smaller team in that market for sure.
Okay, let's play GM real quick on the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes.
Yep.
You trade Mitch Keller for 2 bats. Even if you don't get like the return, maybe you get like a Spencer Horwitz type of player where they're like young, years of control, and then you bring in Roki Sasaki.
Oh, that's a huge win.
I mean, that's a win, right?
And I don't really get, absolutely. And I don't really get why he is cheaper for coming out this year compared to next year. I don't really understand. I have to read more about that. I don't know. I don't want to misspeak here, but people have said that his price might not be as high as, you may think, being the type of prospect that he is. So at 25, coming out of Japan, if we were able, you have to also put up the negotiation fee. I forget what the name of that is. I'm just calling it a negotiation fee. So you have to basically pay the NPB team
we're out
to just negotiate.
We're out.
Well, I mean, we did that for Jung Ho Kong, right? Like we did that.
Didn't work well. We're out. Nope, we're out.
So like you might have to pay $20 million just to negotiate for the guy, and then you pay the contract. And correct me, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that's how the process works. But it would be fascinating. I'd be down to trade Mitch Keller. I'd be less worried about these rumors if that was a serious conversation that GMBC and this front office was having.
I think you almost have to go out and make that move before you even trade for Mitch Keller, right? Like you have to be sure of it. You have to go out and say, okay, we're bringing him in. We're putting all of our international money in this one basket, and then we can go get whatever return we can get for Mitch Keller and capitalize on that.
Yeah,
I'm game. But I mean, is it going to happen? No.
I don't know why.
Good idea.
I'd love him in Pittsburgh, but I just love the fit for him in San Diego. So,
yeah, I mean, do they need anyone else, man?
No, but like him, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Michael Kang, like it would be like they are considered a smaller market. And then with Tatis and Machado, I don't know. Come to Pittsburgh, Roki. I'm gonna shut up about San Diego. Come to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. He's listening, so
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
ignore all of that, man. It's exciting. I'm pretty pumped about it. As we mentioned a little bit before, the Rule 5 draft happened today. Pirates didn't lose anybody, or anybody that we have brought up on this pod. That being Eddie Yean, Sammy Siani, Omar Alfonzo.
Yep,
pretty much like your top guys that were unprotected are still available. So you retain a Sammy Siani, who's coming off of a very good fall. You retain an Eddie Yean, who could potentially be a bullpen arm or potentially a trade piece at this time of year. And then you retain a really good catching prospect in Omar Alfonzo. So I'm pretty happy about how that went. They also brought in quite a few names in the Rule 5 draft. Scott, why don't you walk us through some of these?
Yeah. So first, they pass, like how it works. They start with the major league phase. So if you take a guy in the major league phase, that's the first round. You have to put them on your 40-man, and they have to be on your roster. And usually that's more so. I feel like rebuilding teams like take bets on guys like that. I remember when the Pirates took Jose Soriano a couple of years ago, but when he had Tommy John, was back in the rotation for the Angels this year. I think that's an exception where like he doesn't have to be on the major league roster if he's going through Tommy John and whatnot. But so they passed and they continue the major league phase until every team passes. So it could be 2 rounds, could be 3 rounds, could be 1 round. But like if a team selects a player, they get a pick in the next round until they pass. So the Pirates passed, and then they went into the minor league phase, and they took 5 guys. First, Frank De La Rosa off the AA roster for the Athletics. And a lot of these arms are kind of like Alvarado, the guy they signed in free agency, guys that don't have a lot of control, who have been in the system for 4 or 5 years, and they might have stuff to bet on, but the control is just not there. So he was a reliever, 1-1, 5.88 ERA this year in 9 games, 26 innings pitched, 39 Ks, 1.73 WHIP is not great. His fastball slider is really hard to hit. He's got great stuff, but it's when he's got control that those pitches are effective. He has a career 15.2% walk rate. Like, that's not great, but he'll be in Indianapolis. So expect to see him on the AAA roster unless there's some unforeseen circumstances here. Next, they took Aaron McKeithen. He was a catcher from the AA roster for the Cardinals, which is the Springfield Cardinals. He is actually the younger brother of Timothy McKeithen, who is the assistant director of hitting for the Pirates. So some not bloodlines, but like he is has some connections to the Pirates organization. He hit 264, 356 with a 681 OPS. Not a lot of power. He's more just so like a backup catcher, probably in a system. 1 home run, 16 RBIs, and 163 AB. So he'll probably fill in for the catcher that we lost, which I'll mention here in a little bit. They also grabbed left-handed pitcher Randy Labout from the AA roster for the Guardians, which is the Akron Rubber Ducks. He was 3-6 this year with a 4.57 ERA in 36 games, 61 innings, 52 Ks, 164 WHIP. Again, another guy with walk issues. I'm pretty sure he was one of the hardest left-handed throwers in minor leagues this year. I thought I saw that somewhere on Twitter or X. But another guy that will probably be in AAA this year in the bullpen. Next, 2 more guys. Left-handed pitcher Steve Hajar was also taken off the AA roster for the Guardians. 2-1 with a 7.26 ERA this year. 30 games, 39.2 innings pitched, 35 Ks, 1.51 WHIP. He had 4 more walks and Ks this year. 40 walks, 35 Ks. So it kind of follows the same, demographic that usually goes in this draft. And then lastly, they took outfielder Joel Mendez from the Florida Coast League for the Yankees. He had a really good year this year. 292, 405, 974 OPS, 6 home runs, 30 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and 130 ABs. So not a lot of action this year, but 130 ABs is a decent amount. That's the rookie minimum. Those are the 5 guys that they grabbed this year in the minor league phase, and they will be either in Altoona or Indianapolis. Lastly, they lost 3 guys in the minor league phase. I'll go through these real quick. They lost right-handed pitcher Darvin Garcia to the High A Red Sox, Salem, I believe that's Salem, or Greenville maybe. But he was 2-3 this year in, I believe, Greensboro, the Grasshoppers. I'm getting my Greenville and Greensboro mixed up. 2-3 with a 4.6 ERA, 2 saves, 45 innings pitched, 44 Ks, 162 WHIP. Catcher Dylan Shockley was with Altoona this year. He went to the Braves. He'll be in Gwinnett in AAA for the Braves. 233, 293, 637 OPS. Not a great bat. He was actually one of the better defensive catchers in the system, and that's who McKeithen will probably replace this year in our system. 2 home runs, 12 RBIs. Not much of a bat. Defensive first guy. Lastly, Isaias Depre was in the Dominican Summer League. I saw some guys tweet about this guy like they really liked him, but I don't know if he battled injuries or what caused him to stay in the DSL for so long. But he was claimed by the Phillies. 301, 441 OBP, 1.02 OPS, and 133 ABs, 8 home runs, 19 RBIs, 6 stolen bases. So 8 guys involved with the Pirates, 5 incoming, 3 outgoing, but none of the guys that they left unprotected for the 40-man, like Eddie Yean, Omar Alfonzo, and Sammy Siani, like you mentioned, were picked up by a team.
Good stuff, man. There's potentially, like you said, projects here where, like Elvis Alvarado, you got to work on tweaking some mechanics, but upside like a bullpen arm, right?
Yeah.
Like this gives you depth. This gives you options. So you get a new look for new guys in the system. And then sticking on the topic of drafts, we had the 2025 MLB draft selection, and the Pirates will be picking 6th overall in the 2025 draft. So they only had a 5% chance of going first overall. They snuck past picks 7 through 10. The teams that had the highest chances, the Marlins and the Rockies, all got shafted, like super
4 and
hard.
7
like,
or something like that.
Yeah, like they did not come close to getting the number 1 overall pick. So being bad in baseball doesn't necessarily mean you are going to be rewarded with a higher pick. Like it's the lottery system. It's unfair. But we got lucky again, man. You're picking in the top 10. Obviously, you don't want to be consistently a lottery team, but like this is another opportunity to either get a very good bat or a top prospect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Number 6, that's where they took Nicky Gonzalez, right? In 2020.
Yeah, I
believe
so.
He was number 6. I think this, from a way too early perspective, looking at draft boards, looking at mocks, this is a high school heavy draft. And there are some options that I listed here. I have 3 names that I think would be in range at number 6 that I quickly highlighted. 1 high school bat, 2 college bats. I'd like to see a college bat taken here, but there are also some big college arms that are expected to be taken in the top 5. That could change drastically in the next 6 months. There could be a name that emerges that might not even be projected to be drafted next year. So the first name I want to quickly highlight is Kason Cunningham. He's a prep shortstop from San Antonio, Johnson High School. He's a slightly bigger lefty swinging version of Jet Williams. He was a first-round pick for the Mets a couple years ago. Really like him as a prospect. I believe he's in AAA this year. He's a Texas prep shortstop. He's a better pure hitter at the same stage that Jet Williams was at this point, and perhaps the best prep bat in the class. He's only 5'9", like 160. He's a small bat, but he's got really good bat to ball skills, exit velocity, all that. I think there's some projection left on him in terms of strength. I don't know if he's going to get bigger, like in terms of height, but really good shortstop with a decent bat. A guy I really like, who I'm a big college baseball nut, and I've watched him since his true freshman year, is Cam Canarella. He's at Clemson. He's a center fielder. He's an elite center fielder, future leadoff hitter. Few players in this class can match his combination of bat to ball skills and center field defense. And he would be a really exciting prospect to take at number 6 overall. I'll just say that right now. Lastly, Ava Arquette. He's a second baseman for Oregon State. Probably the most prominent transfer in this draft. He moved from Washington to Oregon State. They used to both be in the pack, but he also provides you with a lot of similarities to DJ LeMahieu with a little bit more pop. So it seems like he's not going to play shortstop. He'll probably be more second base, or you could probably put him in corner outfield in the future. But elite bat to ball skills with some pop. I really like that profile at number 6 overall.
MLB draft, anything can happen, man. And usually it's not necessarily like, hey, like this is the best guy available. There's a lot of issues with slot, right? Like how much money you're paying a guy in the first round compared to what you're saving in the later rounds. We've seen the Pirates do it countless times, but these are 3 very good, way too early predictions. So I'm excited about it, but we have more immediate things to worry about right now in terms of making this team better for 2025. And I think this week we took a step in the right direction, all things considered. So let's take a deep breath right? And like,
Come on, guys.
just relax. Like, let's enjoy the moment. Let's just let the process play out.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I will say this, I'm really surprised that this episode is going to be under an hour because I texted you earlier and I was like, we have a lot to talk about. Rule 5, draft lottery, this trade, like other things going around the league and around the Central. So we did a really good job of keeping it under an hour. But there's more to come, man. Like you said, everyone breathe. And, I think we're better than we were a week ago. How much better, I don't know, but there's more moves to be made.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else you want to get off your chest today? We got 10 minutes to spare.
Yeah, I would just say this. And I'm kind of repeating myself from earlier on. I want to see this front office continue to be aggressive, continue to exhaust all options. There isn't a rich history of success in terms of transactions made by this front office, and that's what concerns me. Trade-wise, I feel like we haven't won many trades. Some successes off the top of my head that I'll list real quick is claiming Joey Bart off the waivers, drafting Paul Skeens 1 overall over Dylan Cruz, drafting Bubba Chandler, getting him to decommit or, sign instead of go to college and play football and baseball, developing arms. I'm not going to even mention this Horwitz trade just yet because like it would be unfair to grade it right now. But it just seems like we've come up on the short end of the stick on a lot of trades, and we haven't been able to, maximize value of our current assets. And when you're rebuilding and when you're trying to get into a window, like you need to maximize the value of the assets you currently have in your portfolio or on your roster. And they haven't done that. And maybe they did that with Luis Ortiz. Maybe they were like, you know what, we need to sell high on him before it's too late. So that'll be something that I'm looking forward to seeing come spring, come the start of the season. I don't want them like the quote today was that they're going to rush into anything. They're going to take their time. They're going to look into things. It's just like, hey, don't let like too many people get off the board. Don't be too conservative. Now's not the time to be conservative. You have Paul Skeens. Year 2 of Paul Skeens is like a must-win year. You have to be above 500. You have to greatly improve this team from last year. So, everything's on the table, as I said before.
Well said. I'll direct mine more so to the fans of this team. I mentioned it briefly earlier. Relax. Calm down. Take it easy. All right.
Take it easy.
It's going to be okay.
All right, Luigi Mangione.
We don't need to be going after moves immediately, full steam ahead without seeing things unfold. Because like immediately once this trade happened with Luis Ortiz, it's immediately like, what do his advanced analytics says? Well, like on Tuesdays under the sun in a dome, like on turf, like he doesn't hit like well with his right shoe untied. Like, calm down. Like, watch the guy play. Like, let the process play out. Give him a chance, right? Like, I know we can get into numbers, and advanced analytics are great to a certain degree. You could go on Fangraphs, you can go on Baseball Savant, you could see the projections. That's all fine and dandy, but like, let the guy play. That does not dictate what he's going to do in 2025. So, mentioned it before, we really won't know how this trade plays out until like July, right? Until you see how Luis Ortiz is doing, until you see how Spencer Horwitz is doing. But to be quite frank, Luis Ortiz is not a Pirate anymore. So let's focus on Spencer Horwitz. Let the guy become acclimated to the team, man. Like, let's not jump on him right away. Let's not jump on the front office right away for making a move that you've been begging them to do just because you're not 100% happy with it. This is the offseason. Things are going to happen that you are going to like. There's going to be a lot of things that you don't like, but you do not know until you know. So let's just sit back and enjoy being a fan of baseball. I know I was going to say being a Pirates fan. I'm not going to go that far yet. Okay.
Don't
because
alienate us. Come on, Adam.
yeah, I'm not. I understand the pain, but let's watch it unfold, and then we can make a better judgment. Let's say in March when we go into spring training on how the team looks then. But for right now, let's let them cook a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, man. I think I love all our listeners, and I love the Pirates fan base. I think it's funny, like just seeing some of the reactions online. Just relax, let it play out. Take it day by day, live in the present. Don't overthink. I love when people tell me all the time. I have friends at work, friends in general, saying like, Skeens is going to be a Yankee in 2030. I'm like, good. I don't care. Let's talk about 2025. Like
Right.
That's fine. We've got 5 more years, 6 more years. So live in the present and relax. Like you said, calm down, take it easy, have a Turner's iced tea and icy light, and just enjoy this team, because I think they are going to be better next year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And I think there are more moves coming, like I said multiple times this episode. So we'll see. We got Noah this weekend, and I'm excited to talk about these trades, these moves, the shakeup just in general with him, get his thoughts, different perspective. But until then, man, I don't think I have anything else.
No, and you talked about the present, and also Christmas is coming up, Hanukkah's coming up, the holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
You should buy presents at the buckobanter.com merch store. Show us if you buy anything. We greatly appreciate the support. If you're listening, download the episodes, leave a 5-star review. To all the listeners that we were their number one on their Spotify Wrapped, or even if we were part of your Spotify Wrapped, that is so cool for us. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate your support. And if you're watching us and you like looking at our stupid faces, I don't know why, but apparently you keep coming back to do so. Leave a comment, like the video, share it, subscribe, tell a friend. And if you don't like it, maybe don't tell a friend. Just keep it to yourself. Okay. But follow us on social media. We're giving away an Endy Rodriguez signed autograph card this week with the Closet Card Instant Consignments. Go follow them and us on X for a chance to win Sunday with Noah Hiles. Raise it.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates. And